Greetings! Welcome back to Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel. Today we are going to do an interesting project. This is going to be a gigantic carving project that's not entirely done with steel tools. We're going to make a trough. This could be a trough for boiling things. This could be a trough for making a bread bowl. This could be a trough for many sorts of uses. We're going to be using a combination of steel tools and some fire, and I'm going to actually burn out the inside of the trough with fire. Now, a little background before we get started. The wood that I'm using here is aspen. This is a nice soft wood. It's a little harder than pine and basswood, but it's still a relatively soft wood, and I've got a lot of wood removal to do, so I don't want to do this with something like oak. Also, reasons I would not want to do this with something like oak is very porous. So since this is something that we're intending to have some food contact, I want to use a nice closed grain diffuse porous wood, right? So it's good on that front. I'm carving this out of a big log. This is a blank that I just prepared here this morning. I have about I didn't time myself, about 2 or 3 hours worth of work in this. This is started, okay? I have some handles shaped. I have the belly of it roughed out. And I have the start of a hollow. All this was done with axes, axe and a hatchet. I'll talk about that in a minute. This piece is just a log split in half. And it has you can see I haven't done anything to the surface of it. I'm expecting some fire and smoke damage to the surface of it, so I will work this down after I do the burnout. The hollow is just enough to start the work and to give me a place to set amount of coals in when I'm ready to when I get going with the burnout. This is a way that you can hollow things if you don't have a gutter adze, right? You can do some of the coarse chopping with a regular axe, and you could just take this, if you have a gutter adze or some big good gouge set, and do all of this with steel tools and make the same bowl. I don't have those tools, so I'm going to use fire. The other reason I want to use fire on this is because it will fire harden the inside. And when wood is fire hardened, it becomes hydrophobic. That means it resists water. So if we're going to do food related tasks in this, having a fire hardened interior is an advantage over doing it with steel tools. Okay? So what we're going to work on in this video is I will show you some snippets. Like I said, I have 2 or 3 hours of work into this one. I'm not going to do all of that on camera, but I will show the basic operations in 5 minutes of each and then move on. But I will show you how I get from log to this blank. And then in the next video, we will do the burnout. And then in a third, we'll do the finishing work. Okay? Now a little bit more about this. I'm leaving these handles outlandishly thick. Okay, watch me fall over on camera. There we go. Outlandishly thick, because I'm not sure if it's going to pick up on the camera or not, but this piece has a little bit of propeller twist in it. Right, this corner is very much proud, and that corner is very much proud. This corner and this corner are back. So after we get the burnout, we get this wall to its final thickness, I'll need to shave this and shave that. So I'm leaving this really thick so that I have plenty of material to work with when I do that. Okay? And there's other ways that I can level it a little bit and make something out of it. But this is the idea. This is not a finished trough, this is the blank. What I'm going to do here on camera, let me set this aside, these are not light logs, is take the other half of this log, this fellow, and work it to this stage. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is look at the surface. And if there's any part of this that is really wonky, I want to take it off and get it a little bit flat-ish. Again, I am expecting a substantial amount of damage from fire when I do the burnout, and the whole surface is going to be resurfaced, the top, make it nice and even. But when I'm looking at this, again, it's the other side of this, so it has some propeller twist. But this chunk here is way proud of the rest. It's very exaggerated, okay? So I'm going to take a big chunk off of this, and I'm going to take a little bit off of this back corner just to kind of get it a little bit flat-ish. Now, before I do that, we'll talk about tools. I'm doing everything I did on here, I did with two tools. One is this axe. This is a short-handled axe, fairly heavy. This is a style called a felling axe. This is not usually something that woodworkers mess with, but I like the short handle for control. It's long enough I can get some good power strokes, and it's short enough I have some control, and I've done some of my own customization on the blade. And then the other is my favorite survival knife. So, it won't take you long to figure out, I hate the whole survival knife concept. This is what you really want if you want to do some serious work in the field. This is I've heavily modified. It's just a cheap commercial hatchet. I finally found it out of a moving box, and I have heavily modified and thinned the bit for this sort of carving work, okay? And I like a hatchet with a sheep's foot handle like this, because I can grab it by that and get both hands on here for power and control at the same time when I'm doing heavy work. So those are the only two tools that'll take that to this. So the first thing I want to do here is grab some pieces of firewood to set this on. And this is so that when I have an overblow with the axe, I'm not going into the ground and hitting stones. That will not do any favors to the sharpness of your tool. And get this up and find my high spots. That corner and this corner. Those are the high spots. Now this is a heavy monster. Gotta be careful with it. Okay.
And yourself.
Huh?
And yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's why I got to be careful with it so that I can be careful with myself.
Yeah. And
there is a little bit of a split here. Doesn't go all the way through. It's just into the pith is exposed on this piece. I don't think it goes in very far. So the handle will be about here, and then the hollow will be about here. So I don't think that split's going to bother anything. Over a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to hew off this high spot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a series of scores going up, and then I'll come up from the top and work down across them. Okay? Series of scoring cuts. And then I can come and split all of those out. Sharpen a bit. And there, I mean, you can see this will take off just ghastly amounts of wood. Okay? So that's a pretty good start. Now we'll do a little bit with some more care, trimming with the hatchet. Now notice my supporting hand is behind it. Two ways to be safe when you're hewing. One is never lift your hewing device higher than your supporting hand. So if I'm just working here, like just with wrist, there's no way I can hit this hand because right there's my maximum height. So even if I was all the way over here, it's just going to fall there against the log. The other is if I'm coming way up and dropping from high, keep it off to the side. Never put it on top of your work. You put your hand here if you've decided that you want to lose fingers, right? Behind, and then keep your tool below where your hand is. You can work safely. And you can see when it chips through, I am hitting below. That's why I put logs here. That's just fine. Okay, there we took off that big chunk. Now, that's actually pretty good. This dips down here, so I'll leave a little extra there. That's actually remarkably flat, just from that one removal. So I'm going to call that good for this blank. I'm going to slot this over here. Now we'll cut a little bit of a hollow in it. This is one of those days where you could just never be consistent with what you're wearing and be comfortable. Now what I'm going to do here, let me get it a little bit closer, is I'm going to make the handle, in about here and here. Right? About my fist and my thumb for the handle length. Okay? So I'm going to be starting, just put a little marker for the camera, about there and about there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this longer handled felling axe and I'm going to come about an inch apart and make a series of cuts directly into the wood. And then I'll come on the other side, do the same thing. Okay, just straight down in, like that. Obviously with a little more gusto. And that will score it this way. Then I can come and chop in from the sides and then come in at an angle and relieve the chips. Okay? So we'll go ahead and chop that out. Get all the tripping things out of my way. Tripping halfway through an axe swing is never a good idea. Again, a good axe handle. You want a flare here so it doesn't go flying. We want the middle straight so your hand can move. And you want to eat your Wheaties the morning before you do it.
Unless you're gluten-free.
Unless you're gluten-free. And you want to eat your cornies.
That just sounds like my jokes.
Ah. Why did the chicken cross the road? To prove to the possum it was possible. Okay. Now we can start digging in, coming from both directions. And blowing some of those hunks out. Our kitty is getting a shower of wood chips and just decided to
Nope, out of there.
relocate. It's a little further over than I wanted, but that's okay. We're just kind of chewing up the grain, going back and forth here. See, we're getting more and more chips every time. And we're developing our crude hollow. That one out. There's why they're not coming. There's a knot right there. Got it.
A knot that did not want to let go.
It did not. Again, we don't have to be incredibly deep. We don't have to be incredibly neat. We're just making a depression where the coals will sit when we start working. Start working with the fire. If you look at this one, you'll see that's about where we want to end up. Okay? Now, whew, definitely some work in these. I'm going to stop with that stage now. I will just keep working. This is about deep enough here. And I will keep working over and bring this depth over to here. Okay? But let's go ahead and move pretty. Show the back and the handle a little bit. And before we do that, we need to get the bark off. It's a good job for Mr. Hatchet. want to kind of get under it. To get under it a little bit, you can twist it. Pull it off. There is a tool called a bark spud specifically for this. And if I had one of those and this was green, it's still fairly green in terms of moisture content, but it's not a fresh cut tree. If it was a fresh cut tree and I had a bark spud, I could get this whole sheet off. Which would be nice because this inner bark here, you see some strings coming off? It's nice and fibrous. It's actually a nice weaving material. But this one's too dry in order to make any use out of it. Get all the bark off. Getting all the bark off. A couple of really nice historic examples of bark spuds that I don't want to use on an actual project. I am planning to be the subjects for future blacksmithing videos. Not sure when I'll get to those projects, but it is in the plans, in the thought process.
Maybe this summer or next winter.
Maybe. Probably more likely next winter.
Yeah, summer's pretty busy.
Basically a giant sharpened spoon on a stick. That's what a spud is. Okay. We have just barked up the right tree. Hey, you started the thought about corny jokes. We're just gonna go for it.
True.
And set that over there. Okay. Now, I have room to really, can I really swing here? Yeah. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to go back to the heavy axe that needs sharpening, and I'm going to cut straight down about a fist width from the end. And cut down and leave about a 3-inch strip of wood there. So I have plenty to work with after I do the burning step. So this is just a lot of swinging. Now this is definitely a project you don't need a plan for. How far in do I go? Well, that looks good, so I'll do it about like that. Do what you like. Again, you're just popping out gigantic pieces here. It's a good start. I'm going to come in with some 45-degree cuts. Start working on rounding the belly of this guy. Notice where my leg isn't, right? As you get deeper, it's a lot easier. Come on, Adam, hit it, there we go. It's a lot easier to get that sort of glancing miss. But it's okay, because there's nothing over here, right? My leg's back out of the way. I like my leg, I want to keep it.
That's preferable.
It is preferable. Okay. Now, it's about what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to go back to the small hatchet and start working this around. Where am I not going to put my hand? I'm not going to put my hand right here.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to keep my hand back or on the tool. Okay. And now this is going to do a very nice and quick job of evening out those chopping marks. Okay, that's about my 3 inches right there. Okay? And I will keep working on this so it's nice and smooth. The closer I get to smooth, right, the more I'm choking up on the tool and the lighter the blow. So I have a lot of control doing this. Notice where my leg is. Could I bounce off and hit my leg right now? Yes. But, see how light my blows are? I'm not coming down with any force. I'm just shaving. Some finishing cuts. If I need to go and make a heavier blow like I do there, I will reposition. Now my leg's way back, and I'm going to come in this direction. Okay. Keep all of my body parts out of the way. Not everything is some big heavy blow. But with my body posture, I'm operating on the assumption that something is going to go wrong, and that's okay because I'm out of the way. So just assume when you're doing this that at some point in your operation you're going to have a glancing blow, something's going to go, you're going to miss strike. Make sure that anywhere that is possible for the tool to end in a glancing blow or a miss strike, you're safe. Okay? So this is all of the operations in the rough out. So I will make this end match. Again, this is sort of a crooked cut. It's okay, I'm not worrying about that right now. I'm just roughing it out. So I will, this corner is finished. I'm not going to touch this again until after I do the burnout, right? So I will finish smoothing out here. I will make this end match, and I will make this side as deep as that little hole. And then I will be done with the roughing out and ready to take both of these over to the fire pit and do the burnout stage. So I'm not going to show you all of the repetitive steps here. You can certainly see where we're going with this. So if you've been enjoying this, if you think this is an interesting project, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time for the next step.